Do you want to know how to meet the demand for therapy better than 98% of the therapists out there? Hi, I'm Dr. Eric Kuelker, clinical psychologist and founder of the Primacy of Therapy Project. I've looked at the websites for over 250 different therapists, and almost none of them contain the elements that we'll talk about in this video. And once you learn how to make a couple of simple changes to your website, you'll draw so many more clients into your private practice.
So let's look at the topic of demand for therapy. Because if you understand what the demand for therapy is really about, you will have lots and lots of clients. You'll be able to choose who you want to work with and what they pay you. You will just have to meet the demand or stir it up, and your phone will be ringing and ringing. And I have very good news for you. There's way more demand for therapy than you think.
Researchers did a meta-analysis of 34 studies covering 68,000 participants. They were 3 times more likely to prefer therapy to treat their mental health problems than pills. 3 to 1. The public has a huge preference for therapy over pills. They really want the services that you offer, the feeling that comes from sitting with a caring professional. This is a stunning advantage for you.
At this point, you might be thinking, what? What is this guy talking about? If there's such a demand for therapy, then how come it is so difficult for me to get clients? Why are my fellow therapists struggling so much? I wish there was a demand for therapy. Well, it's not your fault that you do not know how to get clients. It's not your fault that you don't know about the demand for therapy. Because while you were in school, your professors taught you many techniques of therapy, and you worked hard to get your credentials. But they didn't teach you how to get clients, how to meet the current demand for therapy. They certainly did not teach you how to create demand for therapy. No sirree. And our professional organizations aren't much better. A couple of years ago, a big organization put out a video to promote psychotherapy, and let's just say it did not help our cause. Okay, actually, it was terrible. The video spent several minutes on the idea that going for therapy was shameful and bad and should be resisted. Huge no-no. If you're selling a service, don't tell people they shouldn't buy it. Remember, the public doesn't want pills, they want therapy. And the therapists who learn how to stir up demand for their services will have a huge advantage. I will teach you how to position yourself as the first choice for treating mental health problems. You will learn the massive research studies that shred the myths that are out there about depression, anxiety, and other issues, and place you front and center as the best person to deal with them. You'll be able to shift the demand away from pills and toward you. You'll gain status as an expert overnight because you will have the science, believe me, the research on your side. So let us look at the first step to meeting the demand for your services. If you make this one change, you'll be miles ahead of everyone else, and clients will come to you first. You need to understand that demand starts in the client.
At 4 in the morning. They wake up because they have a huge problem. This problem causes them a lot of pain. It might be that they're worried that their marriage is heading to the rocks, or that they have a child with autism who never says, "I love you," or looks them in the eye. And they have one thought: I need help to solve my problem. That's it. That's what they're experiencing at 4 in the morning. I need help to solve my problem. So they do what the vast majority of us do. They go online. They search the internet. 70% of clients look at a therapist's website before making an appointment. Makes sense, right? That's exactly what you do. And the question that is front and center in their mind as they look at websites is, can you fix my problem? That's it. That's the core question that occurs to them as they browse through the websites of various different therapists. It could be, can you stop the fighting in my marriage and help us to love each other? Or it could be, can you get my autistic kid to look at me and talk to me? That's the only reason why people go on websites for therapists. People do not go online to look at techniques or credentials. They go on your website looking for solutions to their problems. So sit down and define, what problem do you solve as a therapist? What is it? It could be, I treat anxiety in people after they have a car crash. Or you might solve a different problem. I treat emotional eating so that people finally lose weight. Then write a headline for your website that says that their problem can be solved. You have to answer the question in your potential client's mind. Remember, they're asking, can you solve my problem? And if you have a headline on your website that says your problem can be solved, then they're hooked. They're pulled right into your website. Suppose you treat autism. Imagine if your headline says, do you want your autistic child to look you in the eye and say, Mommy, I love you? Wow, you have just tapped into the deepest desire of that parent. There is no way that they can click away from that to another website. Or suppose another counselor has a website that says, yes, the fighting in your marriage can leave and the love can flow back. Again, you've answered that question that's so deep that's causing them to wake up at 4 in the morning and said that you can fix it. Whoever lands on this site will just stay there and read. And the text below the headline just restates their problem for a couple of sentences. It could be, you hate fighting with your spouse so often. The hurtful words stick in your head and they just won't go away, right? So you talk about their problem for a couple of sentences, not too long. Then the text moves to hope that their problem can be solved. You miss the love that you and your spouse shared in the beginning. There is good news. It can come back. You can learn to work through the friction and connect on a deeper level than ever before. And that text may go on and introduce you at this point. Hi, I'm Melissa Etheridge, LMFT, and I've helped hundreds of couples revive the love that drew them together. Because the core of marriage is an emotional connection between two people. I focus on helping people establish that emotional connection first. Communication techniques will not work until the emotional connection is solid. So this text, you see how it gives the person hope that their problem can be solved. You mention a bit about who you are and a little bit about your techniques, but that hope is now conveyed. If you do this, you will just be miles ahead of everyone else. By now, I've looked at the websites for over 200 different therapists, and almost no one has a headline that says that they can solve a potential client's problem. Seriously, I look at website after website, and almost nobody has that headline. Heck, there's popular services that build websites for therapists that don't even allow you to put in a headline. I looked at that and was stunned. Wow, you can't even put in a headline in the website builder if you wanted to. Now let's look at some websites that I've mocked up as an example. I want to clarify, these are not real psychologists or counselors, but they are websites that are incredibly common. Let us see if they answer potential clients' 4 in the morning question. This client's question is, can you treat my depression? That's what's going through their mind at 4 in the morning. That's what is in their mind as they're looking at websites. So this woman lands on the website and she looks at it and, okay, yeah, there's a pretty picture and there's some words of serenity, but her question is not answered, right? There's $10 words like existential humanistic, and there's phrases like dream work. And, the potential client who's wondering, can you solve my depression? They don't know what dream work is they don't know what the big words mean. I mean, does dream work mean that you dream about your job, or do you work while you're dreaming? Sort of like sleepwalking, but it's sleepworking, or what the heck does it mean? And the client's fundamental question, can you treat my depression, is not answered on this page. They get confused and then they click away. That therapist just lost a client. They didn't meet the client's demand for therapy. Well, let's look at another website and see if that does any better job at answering the potential client's question, can you solve my problem? The potential client clicks on this and realizes that this is all about Dr. Verhelst. By the way, Amber was one of her nannies, so she'll be very pleased to hear that she now has this ID. Anyhow, this site is all about Dr. Verhelst's photo and her qualifications and her techniques. There's a mention of treating depression, but it's down the page, and it doesn't say if the treatment works or not. The client is kind of unsure. They do not have hope that Dr. Verhelst can solve their problem because the psychologist did not say that they could. And because the client is unsure, they click away to another site. And this is exactly what a client told me 2 days ago. He said, I was looking at another therapist site and they said they treated depression, but I wasn't sure what that meant. That other site also says that that psychologist treats depression, anxiety, and other issues. Well, now the potential client is going, well, Dr. Verhelst said that she treated depression and anxiety, and this other mental health professional says that they treat depression and anxiety. Well, which one is better? Neither site really gives hope. Who can solve the client's problem? The client just does not know. Now, a lot of professionals have a huge resistance at this point and have encountered it over and over. Remember, I said earlier that you need to sit down and discover for yourself, what problem do I solve? Well, a lot of professionals don't want to focus on saying that I solve one problem. I've heard the exact same arguments from chiropractors or naturopaths as from counselors or psychologists. They say they do not want to exclude anybody. Well, that only works if you're the only show in a small town, because you're the generalist and there's only one door in town. You can treat anybody who walks through the door because honestly, there's no other doors. There's nobody else that they can go to for treatment for their mental health problems. But face it, nearly all of us live in a city and there's plenty of other therapists around. There are lots of doors. If your door is the only one with a label on it, well, then that's very different. I mean, look at all these doors. Which one do you go through? But if your door has a label, that speaks to all the people who have that problem and who want to walk through it. And people really, really think in terms of specialists, even if you don't want them to, right? I've heard referral sources say, we want to know who's the best person to treat eating disorders. We want to know who treats anxiety. Notice that? The referral sources are talking about a niche. They're the ones talking about solving a specific problem. So if you pick a specific problem that you solve, then the referral sources will think of you whenever they encounter that problem. And also, the clients who are clicking through websites, if they see that your door is labeled with their problem, then they'll enter it. They'll go, oh, this person treats my anxiety after a motor vehicle accident. That's the one for me. And these other doors, the black door and the white door and the frosted door, I don't know what they do. They don't have a specific label. And these other therapist websites don't have a specific label that says that they treat anxiety after a car accident. But this door, the brown one in the front center, they treat anxiety. I will go to that therapist.
So let us summarize. There is huge demand for therapy. 3 times as people want therapy as want pills. That is fantastic news. So all you have to do is define what problem you solve and create a headline around that. Give people hope in your website that you can solve their problem. If you just take these steps, you'll be miles ahead of other people around you. Now, some people think that a headline looks tacky. Well, one of the most famous headlines in history was for Rolls-Royce. Yeah, it was. And the classic headline, "A Diamond is Forever," earned billions of dollars for De Beers. Finally, others have questions about picking a niche. My first piece of advice is just look around. If no one in your area is focused on a problem, such as insomnia or workplace stress, well, you can move into that area easily. By the way, psychological treatment of insomnia is more effective than using pills, especially over the long run. So you can build a thriving practice just on that topic. And think of it. How many other psychological problems have insomnia as one of the symptoms? Depression, anxiety, PTSD. So you can see how focusing on insomnia will bring lots of clients into your practice. Second, there should be a fair number of people with that problem who are able to pay you. Insomnia affects lots of people, as does workplace stress.
I hope this video has been helpful for you in understanding how to meet the demand for therapy in a far more effective way than you knew about in the past. And also, I've got lots more information on how you can grow your practice and get far more clients in. So go ahead, go to primacyoftherapy.com and sign up for more free updates. And if you know other therapists, say through graduate school or people that you've become friends with in other cities who could use some encouragement, go ahead, email them a link to the video. And that way you can give some encouragement and useful information to them. I'm Dr. Eric Kuelker, founder of the Primacy of Therapy Project. And remember, you don't know how good you are or how great you can become.